Hi there, Stefan Lindegaard. It's late Sunday afternoon here in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I'm just doing a LinkedIn live session. And topic today: how to upgrade executives on innovation. And well, it's an important topic. It's something I hear often. And the outset of what we're trying to look into today is that most executives, in my experience, based on my interactions, are actually quite uncomfortable with disruption, modern innovation management, I call it, and also the impact of digitalization, new technologies. And it's actually not only the executives, but also the key lieutenants, so the people running the companies. And this is something I feel that we need to address. And I'm going to share some tips on how we can do this one. And there are a few reasons why we actually got this situation with the executives. And one is they're just busy people. They're very too busy and unfortunately too often on managing their day-to-day activities. And the other thing, they just don't really know about these topics. I mean, what is modern innovation management? How does it work with my organization? And they don't necessarily know how to get started with these things here, how to actually upgrade themselves. So it's something I believe the corporate innovation, the corporate transformation, HR, we need to look in this together and work together. And here's some of my perspectives on it. And I'm going to share two slides. You can see the one here. And I have 10 points. I just very quickly will go through. This is the first one. And we also got the second one here. And why don't we just jump into it and we'll see. The first one, I mean, do we even have a problem? And this one is a bit dangerous because I have been in many situations where I interact with the organization, both the corporate innovation teams, the business units, and some executives. And this is actually one of the worst things. If your executives actually don't think you have a problem, if they actually think everything is fine, they do all the right things, and we talk innovation, but we also walk the walk. But that's not reality. Well, when everyone else around them actually tells you that there are issues here, it's not really working, maybe even in a sense that the organization itself is the worst enemy for innovation and the efforts you're trying to do, then you're really in trouble. And that's something that we need to look into and address in different kind of ways. It's kind of like saying that, well, if you know you have a problem, it's easier to address. But if you don't know what you don't know, you're in trouble. So a second one is here. I mean, it's a question I like to get into, a topic I like to get into when I interact with many people. I'm curious. I'm really curious about how people learn. I mean, how do you learn, for instance, and how you learn is different from your colleagues and your friends, and that's something we need to take into consideration. Some people like to learn by reading and watching videos. Just look at our kids today. I mean, they learn by watching videos, YouTube in many ways. Others like to go in classrooms. Others really like to be as practical as possible. And of course, we need a mix of all of these things here. But we're different, and we need to take that into account when we set up the leadership development programs and other efforts to do this. So a third one, the WIFM. I mean, what's in it for me? And I really believe in this concept here, and something I work quite much with, that at the end of the day, everyone will think of themselves first. Yes, they might think of their colleagues and the teams they work with, but they don't think that much about the company itself. It's very much unfortunately, but it's just how it is. So they very much think about what's in it for me. And you know what? This also goes for your executives. Your executives have two, three things they very much like to achieve, either because there's some business goals that they got, things they need to meet too, they got objectives, and they're going to be rewarded and compensated for reaching these things here. It might also be in a career level, some elements related to themselves and the career they like to get to. If you can know those what's in it for me issues for your top executives, but also for your key lieutenants, you're really on a good start, because it enables you to go in and not only help the company, but also help your executives in the same way. And yes, it should be the same thing, but it's not always. If you can find that middle way there, it's going to be helpful for you. And you know what? Many of our executives do not really listen to their employees. They might not listen to their uh, to the people who come in and guide them. They might not listen to me. I'm just an outsider. And the reason is I don't have their trust. And something else important here is we combined do not really necessarily have the respect. Don't get me wrong here. It's not respect on personal. It's more about it takes a top executive to know what a top executive is going through in terms of the sacrifices they're doing, the challenges they have on so many different levels. So who do they actually trust? And my take is they trust their peers. I mean, so the challenge we need to do here that we need to look into is to actually go in and find peers that our executives listen to and respect, and then put them in a forum where they can learn together. It might look like a 2-day retreat and you bring together 6, 8 interesting companies and their executives, and your executives don't really know that, hey, there's a reason why you're actually doing this. And that is the kind of innovation, the kind of transformation, the kind of thinking, the kind of structures and the behaviors they're building in the companies of the other executives, the other peers, is kind of things that you really feel you need here. If you can bring people like that together and influence your executives, they might start getting some new good ideas that you can use in your work. And then just the fifth one, I mean, it kind of goes into what I said about peers, but we also need to recognize that everyone are being influenced by other people. And just like going back to what's in it for me question, if you know the influencers of your executives and if you can work with them, it's a good thing. So I just shared 5 things here, and I'm just gonna move on. This is a 2-slide combo today, and you're of course welcome to get in touch if you like my slides. If you would like to get access to my work, I freely share this. So just get in touch. But here are the 5 other ones I'm gonna touch upon now, and well, we're just going to start in with hard conversations. And this is actually something I believe we need on many different levels. And this is part of the assessments that you need to make. I mean, it goes for the corporate innovation or corporate transformation team itself. It goes for the HR team or leadership development people, but it also goes for the executives. We need some hard conversations. Think of this way: if you have 10 executives, and they're in this room, what if you're in a situation, what if 4, 5, 6 of those people are not really cut out to lead the future? They've done great things for the past, but they're just not the right people for the future. Hard conversation, right? If we don't do it, if we don't take them, your assessment is wrong, your baseline is wrong, and many of the things you try to do to create a better company for the future is in trouble. So we need these hard conversations. And someone needs to take the lead because, again, our executives are too busy, might not even aware of these things here. So someone has to do this one. And I suggest that you need corporate innovation, corporate transformation, and the HR leadership development come together and see how you can take the leads of these things here. Oh, what can we do for more specific action? I mean, the things I suggest now in this talk is more about the people trying to educate and upgrade and help the executives. But it would be great to build a category, like a list, a library of things that the executives could actually do themselves. And here are just my starters. And of course, I'm open for your suggestions, both on how we can help and upgrade our executives, but also more specific actions. Curriculum, of course, I mean, some reads, some videos, and again, maybe you can use the influencers. This could be a secretary to get in touch on these things here. There are immersion trips to hotspots. There are reverse mentoring. It's engaging with others. Udacity programs. So there's some suggestions right here. And you know what? I mean, the term innovation is kind of vague. It's also overused in many ways, and I often suggest that organizations need to build a common language, a common understanding about what innovation actually means for your organization. And you can even take a step further, tone down the use of the term innovation, find some other words, focus more on business impact. And do this when you help and upgrade your executives, but also when you do the more overarching task of creating a common language, a common understanding on these things here. So just the 10th one, find the sweet spots. And what I mean by this is that there are some areas where you will get more attention from your executives. There are some elements where you can, some intersections, and it's kind of like you have their day-to-day activities and they spend maybe 80-90% of the time of day-to-day activities. It's important stuff for them. And then they also realize, hey, we also need to create the future. And those are the two of the key elements here. And then there's also some of the outside forces, the disruption, which is the more important thing here, that could come from the outside and could really impact your market and your company. And when you start looking at these things and when you start placing these things together, internal elements, but also external elements, you will start seeing there's some sweet spots where you can get more attention and you can get more hearing from your executives. And maybe that's a good start for you to focus and combine with the efforts that you try to do here. Well, 10 points, kind of quick, short, and sweet. And of course, your suggestions are highly welcome. And I would just like to share very quickly a few other slides. I mean, and again, you're welcome to get in touch and just get my content here. So I did a recent post about what's actually wrong in your company, what are the signs that you can look into on this one, and it's also how ready is your company for the future. So that's one we could look into. The other one is I have some slides on how to upgrade your innovation team. And the other one in this context, again, is the context of helping our executives, how HR supports corporate innovation. So those are some of my recent images, some of my recent posts or LinkedIn Live videos. I hope you find this relevant. I hope you find this of interest. Your suggestions are highly welcome, and let me know if there are ways in which we can interact and in which I can help you. Thanks for listening, and thank you very much.